I'm Jean Veronica Lopez.
I'm Brent de la Cruz.
And I'm Eliza Catuya.
I'm Dan Vince D. Ende.
I'm Diana G. Ventura.
I'm Imagine Luis B. Mangilinan.
And we are the Group 3.
Under Research Advisor Ms. Alorine Reyes.
And today we are to present our study entitled
Ascertaining the Effects of a Controlled Environment for Dogs.
As per the background of the study, noted with its fatality and transmission, rabies is probably the oldest disease that recorded that dated since Greek period. It came from the Latin word rabire, which means to possess aggressiveness. As recorded back then, the disease and its victims' characteristics was based on mere observation, and they named it hydrophobia, which means fear of water. Symptoms shown by rabies victims in Greek called Lisa or Lita, which means frenzy or madness, according to Churasia on her study on 2014. As different study through times was conducted, developed descriptions and definitions of rabies have been acquired. Rabies is a major zoonotic disease that has been controlled in vast places in the world. However, it remains as one of the main contributors to human and animal mortality, especially in developing countries, according to Wild and Lumlert-Dasha in their studies in 2011. In addition, according to Barecha on her study in 2017, despite the rabies being a controllable disease, it continuously affects not just the mortality rate among humans and animals, but it also affects economic factors which targeted developing countries located mainly on Asia and Africa, have been problematic with range of hosts in the environment and free-roaming dogs availability. In connection, distribution of rabies throughout the world have various types and vectors. For Asia and Africa, dogs are the primary reservoir of rabies that accounts for 95% cases of human rabies infection, falling on the urban type of rabies distribution in which unvaccinated stray dogs are common, many of which that are responsible for the 98% of cases in developing countries in the world are stray dogs. Even so, finding may vary. In the Philippines, 88% of the human rabies cases are caused by owned dogs. Aside from medications that is rampantly supported by the government, other studies have also found ways to control and eliminate rabies infection for dogs. Obtained knowledge of the relationship between the dispersed disease to owners' ignorance and vaccine failures. To treat rabies, guidelines and policies particular and normalizing it would prosper to safety, capability and accuracy of human and veterinary vaccines, as failure to compromise with the policies implemented and the resistance to change among individuals are properly observed and remain, such as irresponsible dog ownership. Practical application to the help of science and technology also help in finding a way to eliminate rabies as based on the inadequate and short-term government solution for wiping rabies. Philippine Pet Birth Control Center Foundation promotes the reduction of threat for rabies cases through neutering, where stray dogs or kittens trapped would be spayed, or the removal of sex organs. To prevent unwanted birth of dogs or kittens that contributes greatly to the population of stray animals, which most likely be the causation of scattering of the virus. Although massive studies have found various techniques on how rabies should be treated to promote stronger eradication of the virus, the research gap is inevitable and determined that there are little applicative studies on how environment directly affects the virus and its host to the disease dispersion. Thus, in this study, we would take an applied approach on sustainability and preservation of nature for the aim of controlled environment for dogs through a case study.
This study is significant for it will benefit the communities by limiting the infections through a controlled environment for owned and stray dogs. Aside from that, this research will give awareness to people and will serve as a guide on what should be emphasized in owning a dog. It will also become an advantage for controlling the unwanted massive population for stray dogs. Additionally, this research will have a great benefit for maintaining the sustainability and preservation of environment, as this study involves recycling for development of solutions. Prior to the benefaction it will provide, the study will limit its coverage for dogs of owned and stray. This is to validate the purpose of this study in preventing and helping the eradication of rabies infection in the Philippines. The study will aim to get exactly 20 respondents who live in Barangay 128 Zone 10, District 1, Balut, Tondo, Manila, for at least 7 years. In addition, perception experiences of the people with bark cage will also of the great factor to this study, using the technique of purposive sampling. This study will also use owned dogs, limiting it of 10 dogs. For stray dogs, it will also be limited to 10 dogs. The study considers the problem arose that affects the risk of people in rabies infection. It also considers the location and population density of both dogs and humans in accordance to the chosen place, which is a great factor for potential dispersed infections. Lastly, it also covers the impression and evaluation of people to solution made, which is the bark cage.
Here are the questions we seek for answers. Number 1. How do people contribute to the risks of the barangay and rabies infection? Number 2. What are the common barriers in the barangay which likely to be the cause of rabies infection? Under the general questions, there are specific questions that will lead us to answer the general question. 1.1. What are the responsibilities of dog owners to their pets? 1.2. What do people in the barangay know about the rabies infection? Number 1.3. What are the observed safety and precautions that people conduct when encountering a stray dog? Number 1.4. What are the previous programs for dogs held in the barangay? So those are the specific questions under the first general question. The second general question again is what are the common barriers in the barangay which likely to be the cause of rabies infection? So under those are specific questions like 1.1. What environment do the barangay has for stray and owned dogs? Number 1.2. What is the population of dogs in the barangay? Number 1.3. What are the attitudes of people even when it comes to dogs?
Gathering NSR data. We conducted interview because our research is all about rabies. And it's the instrument case study design those it aims to know the attitude, risk factors and knowledge of people in Barangay 128, Zone 10, District 1, Balot, Tondo, Manila. And to rabies infection. And to obtain NSR data and an interview to have a inside look to the respondents and how they contribute to exposure and risk of rabies and to bring another solution for rabies prevention. And we need participants to know what are the data gathering in our study. The participants will be asked provide information such as people and how they contribute to exposure and risk of rabies. Their initial response when encountering infected dogs, the solution offered by the barangay, what help did it bring them? What are their perception on the idea bring another solution for rabies prevention? And what environment do they have for dogs as a factors of rabies dispersion with barangay. Gathering NSR data. We conducted interview because our research is rabies. And it is instrumental case study design those it aims to know the attitude, risk factors, and knowledge of people in Barangay 128, Zone 10, District 1, Balot, Tondo, Manila, to rabies infection, and to obtain a necessary data and an interview to have a inside look to the respondents and how they contribute to bring exposure and risk of rabies and to bring another solution for rabies prevention. And we need participants participants to know what are the data gathering in our study. And the participants will be asked the participants will be asked to provide information such as people and to know what are the gathering procedure. What participants will be asked to provide information such as people and how they contribute to exposure and risk of rabies. Their initial response will encountering infected dogs, the solution offered by the barangay, and what help did it bring to them. What are the perception on the idea bring another solution for rabies prevention, and what environment do they have for dogs as a factors of rabies dispersion within the barangay. Participants. The characteristic and criteria of the participants are citizen of the Barangay 128, Zone 10, District 1, Balot, Tondo, Manila. People who own dogs, people of age 20 and above, people who live in the barangay for 7 years and above, dogs of age 2 and above. The participants are chosen through a predetermined criterion which will be the basis of qualification of the participants as a part of purposive sampling. A total of 20 constituents at Barangay 128, Zone 10, District 1 will be chosen living at the mentioned barangay for 4 years and above.
So, the purpose of our research study is to gain a deep knowledge about rabies infections. We aim to gain the causation of the rabies infection, and we suggest an alternative efficient solution about the rabies infection, and we also we seek attention to about the rabies infection, and we only interview 20 participants in a day, and there will be no possible risk upon taking our data or upon taking our interview, and there will be no financial costs. The possible benefits of our research study, it will help their barangay upon the rabies control, and confidentiality. The information of the interview it will be confidential, it will be private. In our interview, you are free to choose whether you are going to participate or not. Upon agreeing the consent form before taking our interview, the interviewee fully understands the purpose of our research study and accepts the terms and conditions to be a participant in this research study. And so the researchers will be a part of coding using logical analysis of the data individually. So in step 2, the researchers interpret the data as are now initial codes. Also, the researchers undergo through expanded and national coded. Step number 3, the data is now analyzed, which resulting in step number 4, the final proposition. We have extracted 4 main themes in the final propositions. First, responsibilities of dog owners. 2, attitude of people toward rabies infection. And number 3, barangay programs and environmental effects. We have also analyzed the response of the respondents to the controlled environments for dogs through the same process.
In this portion of the study, the results are presented in prose form. Moreover, the researchers used Miles and Huberman's codes encoding technique to link the data gathered to the research questions. Collectively, the researchers led to 4 different master themes, namely responsibilities of dog owners, attitude of people towards rabies infection, barangay problems, and environment effects. These themes will be used to represent the results and interpretation of data collected. Karina, a 13-year resident of the barangay owning no dog, said, "It is their negligence. They have their pets and they do not even get them vaccinated. That is why rabies infection is scattering. They do not want their dogs to be taken care of, then they will bind it with a leash and cage it. They are not even taken care of properly. Then their incapability as owners to provide treatment and vaccination was also stated by Wilfredo, a citizen of the barangay for almost 15 years, and who was once bitten by a dog, said that what makes the rabies cases high is their due of responding to treat it. Others, referring to the dog owners and dog bite victims, also lack knowledge. If they are bitten by a dog, they would tell it only when the infection is severe, which is the owner's fault in the first place." Maricel, who observed no stray and infected dogs in their vicinity, also supported the claims of negligence and responsibility of dog owners. She said, in addition, she added that factors like this affect the dog's behavior, causing them to bite and be aggressive. Because sometimes, it is about their treatment and how they are taking care of their dogs, which are not properly executed. That is why they become angry and bite someone. Nestor also added disregarding their dogs in spite of having dogs. Meanwhile, Rochelle stated about the responsibilities of dog owners being forgotten by setting their dogs free, stating, "They are being responsible for their pets. They are petting them, and if they lose the interest to take care of them, they will just let it go outside of their responsibilities." Shara and Virgie, who both own dogs with certain attachment to their pets, also stated, "They lack tenderness and skills of taking care of their pets. And if they are incompetent in taking care of their pets, better to have none at all." Jovenel, who owns dogs, also participate to the claim mentioned. Dogs are being disregarded by their owners and they let them roam everywhere. Furthermore, while more are complaining about the negligence of dog owners with their pets, some provided solutions to prevent disregarding dogs, as they believe it is one of the reasons on the high cases of rabies infection. Marlene, who owns dog, suggested better cage the dog than to let it be neglected or give them to someone who can take care of them. Juliet and Lorenzo also suggested to manage to let their dogs be vaccinated consistently. The second theme is entitled Attitude of People Towards Rabies Infection. In this theme, it is stated that participants, frightened or not, have the same observed attitude towards rabies infection. Statements were mostly about them avoiding infected and stray dogs when they encountered some. Marlene, who admitted to be afraid of dogs, said, "Of course, I will leave, I will avoid them." At a certain point, attitude of the respondents may vary. Like Shara, who owns a dog and treats herself as someone who is appreciative with dogs, stated, "What else? Of course, I will run. What do you expect me to do? Welcome them infected dogs?" Additionally, Nestor, who has so much experience with animals, especially dog bites, stated that, "Move aside and do not move, because sometimes we do not know when dogs are coming for you or not. Avoid the dog as possible as you can while it is still out of your reach. But if you're in the situation where it is running to chase you, do not do something while it is still far from you." These contrasting sides were identified mostly on the positive side, saying that the barangay's programs are adequate to make them feel secured about the rabies infection. However, observing the data gathered, those who positively answered the question addressing the barangay's programs for rabies control and prevention are the ones who owns dogs. In a nutshell, those who benefit mostly on the programs are the registered and owned dogs. While there are nothing and no future plans for stray and infected dogs, as Elmi stated, the only programs I am hearing of are vaccination only, because my neighbor owns a dog. Only dogs who are owned are the ones being vaccinated. There are no vaccination or any program conducted for stray dogs. The fourth theme is entitled Environment Effects. It is stated in this theme that epidemic disease and infections have a great relationship with its environment to start with. As World Health Organization identifies environmental factors affecting the spread of disease that can cause an epidemic and communicable disease, control in emergencies. A field study in 2005 stated that the relationship has been proven significant to each other. Thus, all the respondents are on the same perspective when it comes to this matter, and one of them, Renelin, stated, "To those who own dogs, maintain your cleanliness among your pets. Check on them regularly. What they eat and drink on their soil environment may affect their exposure on rabies infection." Edward, who owns dog, also substantiate the relationship, stating, "We are the one who should be blamed there. It is on our part as owners and as people who lives in a high-risk community when it comes to rabies infection. We should clean at all times, for it affects the health of our pets, leading to different instances such as diseases or infections. Thus, environment contributes to risk in the dispersion of rabies infection, which in the first place, based on the data collected, is the people's fault." Extracted also from the final propositions is a controlled environment for dogs. In the context of this research is maintaining a preserved environment for dogs through a cage as an instrument for the research to aim. With its epidemiology, the other causes that lead us to find a location having rabies infection as one of their major problems, the researchers came up with a solution to help preventing the dispersion of the infection: the bar cage. It is a cage made of recyclable materials, which are eco-brick, plastic bottles used in chairs or tables, and plywoods. The cage is designed for environmental purposes and to help prevent rabies infection. In addition, it will be cost efficient. This solution has gathered relevant responses from the respondents. Almost all of the respondents agreed on bar cage to be helpful and cost-efficient way of preventing rabies infection. Maricel, who do not own dogs, find it helpful for the residents in becoming safe and protected against the infection, especially for the children, she said. Of course, because dogs, if given a cage, you couldn't see any dogs around the street roaming freely. That might bite anyone, especially children. Nestor, owning dogs for almost a decade, stated that it appears as a good idea. However, despite the support and the approval of the hopeful effectiveness of the cage, two of them answered differently from the 17 and was unsure with its benefits. Like Rochelle, despite of having a dog, stated, "It can be effective, but no one will avail to support the project. They'll be ignoring that, because most of them wanted to throw the responsibility as an owner. Without cages, they can set their dogs free in the roads, forgetting about their responsibilities." Another is Renelin. Our first respondent also stated, "I am not sure with the bar cage. It depends on the owner. It is really helpful to have cages for dogs. What I am thinking about is dogs, when caged, possibilities of aggressiveness will be observed. You can have them caged, but also have them freedom." Different response was given to those of the respondents. Almost all agreed due to the common factor, observation and experiences. Most respondents agreed for they observed rapid cases of rabies infection and help they think in the barangay is needed regarding the infection. Meanwhile, some are unsure due to beliefs and observation. They were unsure of its hopeful effectiveness. Practically, thinking its impact to people in the vicinity and basic knowledge about behavior of dogs.
Results are further discussed here in this portion, which is the discussion portion. The research questions that directed the study were: how do people contribute to the risk of the barangay in rabies infection, and what are the common barriers which likely to be the cause of rabies infection? The findings of this study reflects the response or the perception of the residents from Barangay 128, Zone 10, District 1, Balotondo, Manila, of their experiences with regards to rabies infection and other matters that is related to the topic. Respondents tended to fall into two categories, which are the dog owners and the residents without dogs. All the participants in this study discussed their perceptions on how people in general contribute to the risk of rabies in their vicinity and what are the common barriers which are likely to be the cause of rabies. The residents agreed on various points, such as their initial reaction upon encountering a stray dog, insufficient services provided by the barangay or the local government, and that irresponsible dog ownership plays a large role in people's contribution to possible rabies infection. Some also express contradicted sentiments regarding the suggestion of having a controlled environment for dogs. Aforementioned in this study, the Department of Health organization proposed or issued a manual containing rabies awareness and manual about. Aforementioned in the study, the Department of Health organization issued manuals containing or about the rabies awareness and the responsible dog ownership, which is in the perception of the respondents are not being obeyed and properly implemented. Dog owners are to be held accountable for their dog's well-being and actions. Failure to meet specific standards can cause casualties, which can be prevented if obeyed. Opposing viewpoints are formulated when tackled who should be held accountable when a person is bitten by a dog. Participants convey their fear when they encounter a stray dog, that they may eventually get infected and suffer major consequences from the effects caused by the rabies of dogs. The necessity of providing parental guidance should be apparent for dogs because being a dog owner, you must provide a protected and clean living environment for your pet. Some can also use at least provide a leash or a cage for their dogs to prevent their dogs from roaming around. Some also stated that stray dogs should be reported in the barangay for have them to have shelter and to avoid from causing rabies in their barangay. Misprision to care and tend for their dog should be the owner's liability. People bitten by pets should be the responsibility of the dog's owner unless the victim that was bitten taunted or provoked the dog. In retrospect, according to Kolkami 2017, even though rabies is labeled as the 10th greatest reason of death, this held no significant indifferences. Pause. If we rely on the response of our participants or the respondents, most of them fear dogs when they encountered one. This can be aligned with the proponent of Ishaya in 2016, stating that in poorest region in Africa and in Asia have low attainment of knowledge and skill about rabies infection, leading to failure of parents to educate their children and other people on acting and on how to handle and how to act in front or when encountering an animal that might cause harm to them. People are also afraid to accept modification. People are also afraid to accept modification of common knowledge about rabies, leading them to poor assumptions and misconception, which also contribute to the high risk of rabies infection. There are also programs implemented by the barangay or the local government for the prevention of rabies cases or the rabies infection, which is a good plan and way to eradicate rabies infection. But in means of preventing it by doing it annually may only extend the infection's longevity in the area. It is found as helpful as it's supposed to be by people who knows a little knowledge about the infection. Rabies is an innate disease that can be provoked by certain factors, and inconsistent conducting of programs can be a causation of its dispersion. This is what happened in China according to Li in 2015. in the province of Henan in China, concluding that rabies support and consistent vaccinations must be exhibited, for it is a crucial part in eradicating the infection. All dogs are carrier of rabies. Barangay programs should address their programs to every kind of dogs in their vicinity. Moreover, environmental factors deal with great contribution in relationship with the dispersion of rabies infection. Participants agreed on maintaining cleanliness and sanitation should uphold every barangay's aim to prevent the rabies dispersion. They agree for they observe what is lacking with them and the barangay, discipline, and sanitation, in spite of knowing the great effects of it in the infection. They also foresee future help on controlled environment for dogs with certain circumstances, beliefs, and observations. People are treating bar cage as helpful more often in the context where it is provided by their barangay and not helpful in the means of safety and protection to the infection. This factual reference made a great point for the solution itself as a cost-efficient solution to prevent and control rabies. And why should the barangay support consistently the demands and needs of people to eradicate the rabies infection? Rabies is treated poorly in the poor cities of the Philippines. People lack knowledge about rabies that made them unable to distinguish the infection's capabilities. In addition, neglected responsibilities for dog ownership can do a great contribution to people's risk in rabies infection. And any harm done on any ways of transferring the infection performed by owned dogs should be on the liability of the owner. Moreover, rabies infection in an inconsistent prevention programs can provoke to regain in rabies is treated poorly in the poor cities of the Philippines. People lack knowledge about rabies that made them unable to distinguish the infection's capabilities. In addition, neglected responsibilities of dog owners can do a great contribution to people's risk in rabies infection. And any harm done or any ways of transferring the infection exhibited by the owned dogs should be on the owner's liability. Moreover, rabies infection in an inconsistent prevention programs can be provoked to regain and infect again the vicinity. Dealing with consistency holds a great. Rabies is treated poorly in the poor cities of the Philippines. People lack knowledge about rabies that made them unable to distinguish the capability of the rabies infection. In addition, neglected responsibilities for dog ownership can do a great contribution to people's risk in rabies infection. Any harm done or any ways of transferring the infection exhibited by the owned dog should be on the liability of the dog owner. Moreover, rabies infection in an inconsistent prevention programs can be provoked to regain and infect again the vicinity. Dealing with consistency holds a great role for the reducing the rabies cases. Results provided the importance of educating ourselves among epidemic disease that can fatally harm us people. To remain aware and cautious is a crucial factor in prevention in the first place. Along with the education comes the discipline and responsibilities taken seriously to eradicate the rabies infection. Local government's programs are important, but to be safe, we must perform safeness in our own hand first. Lastly, controlled environment for dogs can be a crucial solution to prevent rabies infection and to understand the infection deeply. Controlled environment for dogs will surely be beneficial upon supporting its aims and modifying common knowledge about rabies infection.